Here we go. Did everybody have enough bourbon?
I'm
All
just
right.
drinking water tonight.
Oh, crap. We're recording. Sorry about that. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Illinois Green Party Series podcast. I am your host, Gokhan Cukurova, with two amazing guests for you guys. We're going to talk about our lakes, forests, our environment, and everything about the nature. I have two experts on the topic. I'm going to introduce them to you. We have, let's start with Daniel Hebreard, Dupage County Forest Preserve President. And we have Jeff Gahris, Dupage County Forest Preserves Commissioner, who is also on the board. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Thank you. Dan, let's start with you. You have an interesting story. I'm familiar because I live in Dupage County. I'm familiar with our forests, our trails, our lakes. And you started working as a ranger, and you are now the current president in the second term, if I'm correct. How did this happen from ranger to Forest Preserve District president? Can you tell us about how you get into this and your transition into your current position?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with the Forest Reserve District in 2005 because I had a degree in Parks and Recreation Management, and I was indeed a ranger for the district. At that time, I actually went back to school as well. So I got my master's in business administration right here in DuPage County at Benedictine University. And when I graduated with that, I was promoted to senior ranger, which was awesome. Loved the work. We actually were not sworn officers. We were more like community service officers in some ways. In some ways, we were natural resources. In some ways, we were educators. Actually did some plowing and prescribed fires. So loved the variety of the job. And out there with the public, front lines, checking on our campers, checking on our picnickers, trail users, dog park users. I like to think I got lost in the woods, and so enjoyed that for many years. And in 2014, we had a change in presidency at our organization, and I felt like we were going backwards. So I started a union with my co-workers for the Rangers. So it was a smaller unit. There's about 20 rangers in DuPage County at the Forest Preserve District. It took us a few years to get that in because they fought us pretty hard. And after 3 years, we had negotiated a contract and completed that. And I knew we could do better at the presidency. I knew we could do better at the board level with people better engaged, with people who knew more about the Forest Preserve. So I was excited to run in the 2018 election cycle. So that obviously starts in 2017. So I had to get my signatures, and they again came after me. So they tried to kick me off the ballot, went to the election commission, went to the circuit court, and went all the way to the appellate court to try to kick me off the ballot. They were not successful at any level. Stayed on the ballot, ran a grassroots campaign, got outspent 15-1. My opponent spent $200,000. He's a multimillionaire, so he's got that kind of money.
I remember those days.
Gokhan, I'm a multi-thousandaire though. So I spent $15,000 in a grassroots campaign where people such as yourself and other people in DuPage who love the Forest Preserve heard my voice, heard my story, were moved to action. People went door to door for me. People got the word out. Was gifted a free commercial. So we did a fun little commercial where I told my story a little bit and some of the things I felt were important. Won a very close one. I know before we got on air, we were talking about the other side of that. People obviously in a close one lose sometimes. And I was the lucky recipient of 0.1% victory, which out of about 350,000 votes was 702. And I'm really proud of the work we did. And I know we're going to get into that, so I won't touch that, but I'm really proud of the work we've done the last, now 5 years, but, for the first term, that 4 years, and Jeff was a big part of that. And so that's why I got reelected. And so I won by about 12,000 votes this time and excited to continue the work at the Forest Preserve.
I remember that was one hell of a close election. And what I admired about was that it was a very uphill battle for you, and you didn't give up, you didn't lose hope. And looking at our trails, our forest preserves, I'm so glad this happened because I'm not saying this because we've known each other for a little bit, but it is so visible. The change that you guys brought in such a short time proves that things can really happen. Things can really happen if there is a will. Seriously, and I promised myself to give you a heartfelt thank you for that in
Well,
person. Really.
I appreciate your support. I appreciate you hearing my voice, and yes, sticking with me. And Jeff was there at the end, and many supporters were there at the end for those 2 weeks where we
Hmm.
chased down votes and we made sure
Mhm.
every vote counts. And
Hmm.
thankfully, we got a lot of those provisionals to count. We got a lot of those mail-in to count that were challenged, but that was
Hmm.
not an easy effort. Chasing down to ensure that those signatures matched and people would sign affidavits.
Hmm.
And so when it's that close, you absolutely want every vote. And so thank you for paying attention. And I know people have. People talk to me all the time about how much they love the Forest Preserve, and they really do love when we can make improvements. And that's my goal is always to do more. People enjoy these places. They were obviously just a huge destination during COVID, but every day they're a destination. And so just proud that we're always putting our best foot forward.
Right, especially our neighborhoods are not far from O'Hare, so we are always under attack for industrial uh, interests. Just last year, we won a battle to save a good chunk of our neighborhoods in Medina. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and they wanted to build multiple warehouses, but that would be eliminating uh, a good part of our nature, thousands of mature trees, just
Mm.
because it was close to 390 and 290. But just like you mentioned, the grassroots work paid off, and finally the corporations lost interest because people were aware of what's happening, and they knew they weren't going to be able to pit people against each other and then get it all cheap. So if if the profits are not there, they're not interested. They will go somewhere else. So at least for the time being, we won one battle. The war goes on, of course. Jeff, I want to get back into you. You have such an interesting and extensive past with working with environment.
Mhm.
I can't begin to list your work. So I'm gonna have you do your introduction on yourself. You're working with the United States Environmental Protection Agency
Mhm.
and solar associate solar. What was that?
The Illinois Solar Energy Association. Yes.
Solar Energy Association. I have a few questions, important questions about that as well. Please tell us, um, where did this all begin for you, and how did you end up with the DuPage County?
Yes, it's a long story, and I started out just growing up in a rural area in Ohio and loving nature. But I did go and get a technical degree at Miami University in Ohio, and then I went on to get an environmental science degree, a master's degree.
Hmm.
And I quickly got into government, started working for governmental agencies, starting in Ohio and then transferring over to US EPA in Chicago. And but I always enjoyed being outside, always enjoyed nature. I was doing volunteer work for the Forest Preserve District off and on over the years, Sierra Club activist, proponent of solar energy. I have solar energy in my home. It works well. And just been engaged that way. And I think that drew the attention of some people saying, well, you should run for the Forest Preserve. And at one point, I was helping out some nonprofits with energy efficiency outreach. And it was not a good time, but I did retire from the EPA, did this other work with nonprofits. And finally, by the time Daniel got to me, it was becoming irresistible. I just I had to run for this position because I saw what Daniel was doing and how we have world-class organization here in DuPage County that I'm very proud of, and been very proud to work with Daniel. So I thought, well, I need to support what he's doing. And so I ran for office and found out to be a fascinating experience. It's great walking door to door, knocking to people. And I say, I'm your Forest Preserve Commissioner, and they smile usually. So
Usually,
which is, nice to know. I mean, every once in a while you run into grumpy people, but for the most part, you do get the message that people here enjoy the green space and they enjoy what we've been doing with it. So I'm so happy to be here at this point.
Awesome. Where are we in terms of solar energy in Illinois? There are so many advertisements out there that if I put solar panels on my roof, this would be, I would get a refund or some kind of help from the Illinois state government and whatnot. Last year, after 2 years of long fight with insurance, we got our roof redone. So of course it didn't make sense to put solar panels on an old roof. But I guess they're all interconnected. As soon as we got our new roof up, we are bombarded with solar advertisements, and I look online, there's so many scams as well. How do I or people who are watching this show steer away from these kind of fraud?
Well, I generally suggest you don't just respond to something you see on social media or including advertisements. Some of them are worded in comical ways, and so that draws comments in the feed, which I think is hilarious to listen to or watch. But I think you just have to, I would look for contractors who've been around a long time, who are members of the Illinois Solar Energy Association. There's a list of member organizations and which ones do residential work, for instance. And so that's a good starting point. And I just encourage people to shop around. Don't just, because I know when I was knocking doors in one community nearby, they had the perfect roofs. They had older homes like built in the 70s. They were not very energy efficient. They probably had high energy bills. And people came along saying, we can lower your energy bill. So in theory, it was a good deal. But I don't know don't know about the quality of the contractors, but there was some aggressive door-to-door sales, which kind of hurts me because when I'm knocking doors, they're nervous. They don't know who's at the door.
But if I can dovetail on that, just to add to Jeff, I mean, I think that was excellent advice. IC, again, it's ISEA, and that's the Illinois Solar Energy Association. That's a great place to check. The Better Business Bureau, of course, is something I think people forget about from time to time, but it's always important to remember. That's a great place to see if they've got complaints against them or how they've been acting and how long they've been in business. So that's a really good background check. I've had solar on my house, I think now about 6 years. I paid for itself already. So now I'm just making money or saving money, whatever way you want to look at it.
Where do you hide the money?
So it's a good fiscal investment. And so I pay less every month to ComEd than I would otherwise. I know Jeff can make the same claim, absolutely, because they've got the solar. And when you're ready, we'll tell you about our solar projects at the Forest Reserve District, because there's quite a few.
I've seen some of them going up very fast, and not only coming from environmental angle, but also as a taxpayer. You guys done all that work without raising taxes. That's impressive. Where we're fighting with partisan issues, right and left, day and night, all day long, every day, and people are getting angry at each other for sometimes stupid reasons. And in that crowd of news, something like that shouldn't get lost. That's why I try to share DuPage County Forest Preserve's achievements on my social media accounts as much as possible, because it's worth noting. It's not things that you see everywhere every day. You're achieving so much and you're not raising my taxes. It doesn't get better than that. So tell us about that big project you guys did, the resurfacing the huge parking lot, putting up all the solar panels on top. How did you manage all of that without raising my taxes and pay for it? That's not free. We know that.
Well, I'll make the long story a little bit. So my first solar project was all the way back in 2019, and we did 100% solar powered golf carts. So they're on the roof, of course. But the golf carts are electric, and we think it's a great story because we might be the first in the United States, certainly the first in the Midwest to do that, and we're really proud of that. We had a private donor, and so we had another solar project at Willowbrook Wildlife Center, a smaller one. And then they came back with $100,000 donation, that private donor, and we did a large solar array at Blackwell at our fleet building, and that 100% powers that building and a couple car chargers for electric vehicles. And then the board was having some debt fall off, and so we were able to go get a bond at 1%. And I know those percents are gone right now. They've gone
long gone.
So we were really proud of the timing of that and excited. So we got 1%. We got 40 million. And that led to, it's going to be the most exciting project potentially ever in the forces. Really regionally, it's critically important, but it's not in my district. I mean, everything's in my district, but it's really important for Jeff Gahris and his district, and his residents I know have talked to him a whole bunch. So I'll let Jeff tell you about that project.
Yes, you must be talking about the Willowbrook Wildlife Center. And just to tell you why it's so important, last couple of days there's been a major bird migration. It was on the news tonight. 1,000 birds were killed.
1,000 birds,
collected. And a chunk of them were injured, and they brought them to Willowbrook. I think over 100 birds showed up at Willowbrook. And so we have a small, older facility. It's a little bit overcrowded. I think it's not ideal for working conditions or being effective at animal care and so on. So we realized that we had to upgrade the facility. And my main point, or my main contention all along was, well, if we're going to do it well, make it net zero in terms of energy use. So we have more solar and geothermal. So essentially all the energy will be generated on site, and it'll be an advanced architectural. The building has been designed by White and Company, or whatever the exact name is, but White is what they usually call themselves. And they so far, I think they're doing an outstanding job, and we're going to have a very nice facility that will serve our needs for years to come. And I think it'll last a long time. And so I think people will be amazed, and we're going to have a change in mission. It'll be less of a zoo-like experience and more of here's how I learn what happens to an animal that I bring in. Here's the process for rehabilitating the animal and putting it back in nature where it belongs. And we'll be educating the public in a more effective way. Right now, we don't even have a visitor center there like we used to have because it's overrun with animals. So I think people will be very impressed when it's done. It'll be an attraction for the village of Glen Ellen. So, I think and I think the educational aspect and the ability to save more animals effectively, I think will be, that will really resonate with people.
And Gokhan, I see you put our website up. So if anyone has any questions about that project, if you just go to our website and you go to, preserves, and you go to Willowbrook, all that information will be there. We think it's the first net zero animal hospital in the world. I'm sure it is for native wildlife. We know how critical it is as we have aviary decline, and that complex takes in nearly 12,000 total animals, and over half are aviary species. And so we're incredibly proud of that work. And that's why I say it's regionally important, because we work with Chicagoland Bird Collision, and we know these birds don't belong to us in Dupage. They belong to, obviously to the earth. And so we're proud to be a big part of that, help.
Definitely. As you might remember from Facebook, because I use Facebook mostly for posting memories with my children. So because both of my parents and my wife's parents live far. We're in Illinois, mine are in Minnesota. Her entire family is in Poland. Long story short, that's a good way to post some stuff up there, so I don't have to individually email this grandma, this grandpa, this grandma, this grandpa. But we live literally 5-minute drive from Songbird Slough. And when we first moved in the area, that place wasn't that well taken care of. It was obvious. And last a few years, we see rangers coming. It is cleaner. It is it is a different place.
Hmm.
You gotta go and enjoy it. And I see more people there. And also a special place, first place to take my firstborn for fishing. First place he caught his first fish on his own. You know, uh, living close to nature is a big plus, but also not just living, but enjoying, having enjoyable places nearby, and knowing those places are being taken care of. We, I don't know if I should share this information on a public place, but we go somewhere fishing. It is not a lake. It is by a water reclamation place. I'm not gonna give coordinates, but we have great fishing experience there. There's only parking for one car, and whenever we have the chance, we park. Every single time I take my kids out, whether we go there or somewhere else, I have multiple shopping bags, plastic bags, to collect what people shouldn't have left behind, only to set an example.
Mhm.
And sometimes, unfortunately, whether it's our forest preserve land or not, or that secret spot, we always pick garbage. But luckily, I'll give this as a compliment to both of you. Our forest preserves are well taken care of. I never fill up a bag.
Mhm.
There is always something to pick. Yes. And you can't just put cameras everywhere and watch everybody's every step. Of course not.
Mhm.
But this place we go, my God, just
Great.
like bag after bag. It is shameful. It is shameful. You can't be an outdoors person and leave everything behind, including the unused fishing line. You know what I mean? It's so dangerous, so not right.
Well, you'll be happy to know our rangers are out cleaning every Monday, Friday, and weekends, and we actually have a volunteer crew now that is formed at the Forest Reserve District that
Mhm.
goes out and cleans up. And I think one of the most important things that Commissioner Gahris and the rest of the new commissioners, I'll say, because we had 3 new ones start in 2020,
Mhm.
is a real commitment to staff. And we've seen a real growth at the bottom with some wage increases and trying to take care of people, so they know they're appreciated and they know that they're an important part of that team. And I think that really was a big push from Jeff and the other commissioners, and I absolutely support it. But it was a little bit change of pace for some of the others, and so no, we're excited. So people feel engaged and appreciated, and I think they come to work and do a little bit better job. So I appreciate your compliments to the Forest Preserve, and we appreciate it when our staff works, and really for the enjoyment of our public.
Do you guys invite any scouts to volunteer and do some activities and or volunteer work related to cleaning or maintaining forest preserves?
Yes, we do. And I know that occasionally Daniel can present awards, I guess, recognition to Eagle Scouts who work on projects that some of them are fairly complex that involve coordinating with other volunteers and other scouts, and they get a project done that makes us benefit. We have something that's better because they were there and they get acknowledged at our meetings. So it's really cool to see them come before Daniel and the board and get their photos taken and receive an award. And so they do a lot of work. And we have other groups too. I was working with some staff at I think it was St. James Farm Forest Preserve, and we had a group of students from a school in West Chicago. I think they were like 5th grade, and they were out there working. We were giving them sharp tools even, and removing some invasive shrubs and stuff. And several kids walked up to me and said, "This is the best experience." I mean, they really knew how to express themselves, but they had to get it out of them. Like, they were having so much fun. It was so meaningful for them. And you realize that young kids, we see them behind electronic devices all the time, but they discover when they're out there that they really crave nature. It does something to their souls. They just know that, and they express it. That was an amazing experience for me. That was one of my proudest moments in my last 3 years as a commissioner.
Yeah.
You know, they say, "Oh, how come your childhood was more fun?" And people say, "Well, we didn't have all these phones and tablets and internet and all that stuff. And if we did, maybe we wouldn't enjoy outdoors as much as we did." It is probably true. I remember my mother yelling her lungs out from the balcony when I was a kid in Istanbul. It's dark outside and I still need to shower. I still need to do homework. I need to get back in weekdays every day. But I wouldn't change that to anything. And that's what I'm trying to do with my kids. And we have extremely limited. I am a very strict father for that purpose. Honestly, my son sometimes complain, "How come I get only 2 hours of tablet a week?" I'm like, that's a lot of tablet time. But now my 5.5, 6-year-old daughter can hook her own worm and then bring her own 12, 14-inch bass out. And I remember this fun experience I want to share with you. One of my oldest brought a friend home. This kid had a fishing rod for over a year, never been fishing. He had it as a gift. No one took him fishing. I took him out. My daughter opened the fridge. We almost always have a little can of worms in the fridge. The kid was freaked out when he saw the worms in there. He wasn't exposed to that. That's where I'm trying to go. When Jeff mentioned that the kids had some sharp tools and they had a blast. Yes. And I took that kid fishing and he had a blast. And my daughter, Maria, picks up one. And who wants to go fishing first? With the worms. You always remember, I'm sure you both read this book by Richard Love. I can't remember. I can't put his last name right, but it was like The Last Child Left Out or something like that. Let me try to find it. Last Child in the Woods.
Okay.
I can't recommend this enough to my friends. What an amazing book talking about research done on children in the United States about their psychology, emotional strength, their physical well-being, comparing children spending time on devices versus in the nature doing activities. It's mind-blowing difference. And a great book. If you haven't read it, I'll put it up. I'll highly recommend it to anybody who's watching this show on a different
I've got
day.
some suggestions too.
Yes, please send them to me, and I'll put them up when we post.
No, not for a book. You just have to go to our website again. We have hundreds of regular volunteers at the Forest Reserve who are with us, every week or every couple of weeks, and then we have 1,000 volunteers in a year, every year. And that's families, that's, seniors and adults and children and, all sorts of mixes doing all sorts of different things. And there's opportunities on our website every day. And further, we do a bunch of education. So I'm so glad you brought that up because we have thousands and thousands of kids who come out to the Forest Reserve with their schools. with their scout groups. And we have, huge leadership, team building, fishing, all sorts of different activities that we bring them out for. And that's been a big push for our education team. If you go to our website, we actually meet the Illinois state curriculum for outdoor education and for other components. So you can actually teach it in your classroom. You can do Zoom. You can borrow a box and take it with you, and the teacher can actually teach from our materials. Or again, if you can afford the bus, you come on out and we'll have you at the forest.
There you go. So this is the website to go to then.
Yeah.
Speaking of fishing, Dan, I want to ask you, since you started working at Dupage County Forest Preserve, even as a ranger, have you had any issues with invasive species of fish? And how did you handle it?
Well, yes, absolutely. One of the worst, of course, is I would go back to the mussel, actually, just because it really destroys a whole ecosystem, and that's the zebra mussel.
Yep.
Even more than I know, people are probably familiar with the carp. Carp's been around a long time, and most people are going to know that one. But the zebra mussel, a little bit newer, but just devastating. It looks nice because it cleans the whole lake, and it's like, wow, this lake is crystal clear, but we need algae. We need some fogginess. We need some different things than that for different habitat and for our macro and micro invertebrate to eat. And it eats everything. So we have had some very destructive invasive species, whether they be fish or mussel. And we've worked hard to continue to keep the levels low on carp, to introduce our native species. And again, we've actually had some success limiting the zebra mussel, but we're concerned, and we asked fishermen to clean their materials because they're very, very small, almost microscopic. And
that's small. Okay.
Yeah. When they're new, and that's how they travel so easily. Is people don't even know they're moving from lake to lake. So wash your materials in between. If you have a boat, we ask you to power wash it at the bottom because they hold on tight. So that's how serious it is with the zebra mussels. And so I know that's one of the ones that I'm sure our natural resources team would want me to mention because we have a lot of signs up about, please clean your materials, your bait, as you mentioned, different things that people put in the water, and then take out of the water, and they don't realize it, but there's actually, microorganisms on there. And again, it's quite dangerous because if they get a toehold, they can really clean out a lake, and a lot of the other species die, unfortunately.
Since I don't own a boat, I don't use any boat landings in DuPage County. Do you have any washing stations on the boat landings?
We do, I believe, at Blackwell. That's actually our only one we allow you to bring your boat in. So otherwise, it's our boats. And of course, we have those at a couple different sites. We've done some pop-up boat rentals and kayak and canoe at different preserves. And we have it, in the past at Herrick. But again, you can rent a boat at Blackwell, but you also can bring out your own. So again, I believe we do have the wash there. And we have multiple facilities at Blackwell. So if you haven't been to Blackwell, and Gokhan, I don't know if you have, but it's
I have multiple times. Yep. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's one of our best and busiest. And we keep looking to improve the amenities though. So that's a good suggestion, and I will double check that for us.
Okay. Jeff, I want to ask you a question. When you started as a commissioner, having Dan on the board, I'm sure it was a good, fresh, optimistic start for you. But forget about Dan being here. I'll just mute him. Just kidding. What was the biggest challenge in your mind that the board had to deal with?
Well, I think, for me, my priority is environmental sustainability. And that's something I talk about a lot. So I wasn't sure that the staff or the board was ready for what I wanted to push. But I was delighted to learn that they were ready in many ways. We hired a new executive director. So I went for a walk with her at Hidden Lake Forest Preserve, and I was saying, we need to have a sustainability plan. And she says, oh, yeah, it's already on my radar. It's like she was half a step ahead of me. And I think we have a master plan. It had one sentence buried in the back, but apparently staff hadn't forgotten that little sentence. And so that was a placeholder because I think the I think the staff really wanted to do more of that kind of stuff and work on how to make our operations more sustainable long-term in terms of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other challenge that I was worried about is, well, how do you manage the finances for that? And so I think financial sustainability matters also. And so we do try to manage the finances, but I think a lot of the investments we make for sustainability have a tendency to help reduce costs in the long run. So we're not wasting energy, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or we're doing something more efficiently so that we're not using various resources. So yeah, I think, so I'm starting to feel better about that. I'm starting to get excited about some of the things when we're doing. I often say to people that our staff makes us, the elected officials, look better. We look good because their staff is good. And so I'm very proud of what the staff is doing.
A question, Dan. Thank you. One thing that caught my attention when you were first running, that you mentioned back then the sitting president of the Forest Preserve was having a very lucrative salary for a small amount of work the board was doing. What did you do about it since you got elected?
Yeah, no, we had some really good discussions. So there was myself and 6 Republicans, and they felt that if you were president, you earned the salary. And so I guess the most thing I can tell you is I've been present. So I do put in, I would say, more than full-time hours. I get paid $75,000 for that. I have declined the health insurance. We're able to get that through my wife. And with the help of Commissioner Gahris, we've put an end to pensions for politicians at the Forest Preserve District, because we think people should be engaged not for a retirement plan, but for our environment. And so we're really proud of that.
I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we were excited to do that for now and for the future, because we know pensions are a really important issue in Illinois. And I want people who work hard, who are working full time, who are out there earning that pension, they get a pension. And people who are doing it politics, that's not necessarily what that should be for. So we're really proud of that record to get rid of the pensions, in perpetuity for the politicians, and that protects our employees who have IMRF pension. And so, so between those things, I've reduced that cost quite a bit, because that healthcare is can be up to $20,000 if you get the family plan, and so $100,000 saving there. And obviously, the pension's kind of hard to measure; it's a difficult number, of course, but we know it's a large number. So those are the types of things that I'm really proud of that record. Because awesome. Yes, even though I get paid $75,000, you'll find me in my office. I'll answer calls and emails, and I'll be present in the Forest Preserves. I hope I might go viral today. I was out at Waterfall Glen with my mom, walking down to the waterfall and the scenic overlook, and we got stopped by an influencer or somebody. So I did a video today. I don't know what's going to come of it, but
all right, that's good.
That's the kind of fun stuff that
that's good.
You're out in the Forest Preserve, you're out in the woods. Those are the kind of fun things that happen nowadays when you mix good social media with nature.
But it is important that you get a salary, but you are putting your time, versus meet with the board for an hour or two every 2 weeks or so and get a 6-figure salary. I don't know. You ran as a Democrat, and honestly, yes, you are on the Green Party podcast, but the whole world knows how we value the environment, and I wouldn't care less if you did this much work, and if you were Republican or libertarian or socialist or whatever. People are looking for work. People are looking for work to be done, and people are looking for results.
Good governance, and at the end of the day,
exactly
delivering projects and delivering good forest preserves for our public.
And transparency, absolutely. You are running one more term, or no?
I've got 3 years left on this term, so I would say undecided, but strong potential for that, Gokhan.
Strong potential, okay.
You know who's going to be really important to bring back on our board? Commissioner Gahris has already won 2 elections, but he's gotten 2 2-year cycles. And so he will be on the ballot next fall.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, next year. And so I'm really strongly endorsing and supporting Jeff because of his commitment to sustainability, his experience, his action and activity. I mean, he is at so many things in the public and just very receptive. And, it's funny. We just talked about dark skies. He's so active in that. He hasn't even mentioned that. So no more talking about that. But Jeff is passionate about the environment like I am and like you are. And that's the kind of people we want, like you said, good governance. And he understands that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, his resume alone speaks volumes. I think we will only benefit from that kind of experience. How many other seats are going to be open for re-election next year?
So there's 7 total members of the board. I always have a 4-year as president because it's no boundary changes. I'm county-wide. But the 6 commissioners, we're all just up because there were new boundaries drawn, just like every other district, to try to even out the population. Commissioner Gahris is up, our District 3 commissioner and our District 6 commissioner. District 3 is the southeast part of the county, and District 6 is the northwest part of the county. District 4 is in between them, right in the heart of Dupage, Wheaton, Glen Ellen, and the surrounding communities. So those are the 3 seats that are up.
So 3, 4, and 6 will be up for
3, 4, and 6. Yes.
3, 4, and 6. Awesome. What is Jeff? This question is for you. What is a long-term goal for you for DuPage County Forest Preserve? Like 10 years from now, where do we want to be?
Well, that's an interesting one. I think we're going to, what I would like to see, several things. One, I would like to see us a little bit better caught up on land restoration. That's such a huge job. We have great people working on it who are really smart with the science, but the size of the scope of the problem with invasive species, our natural resources staff could probably spend a whole hour talking about it on a forum like this. But we need to get a handle on that as best we can. And it's like rowing your boat in a storm, I suppose. And I think the Willowbrook Wildlife Center, I think it'll be well established and rolling really nicely over the next few years. We'll have more solar energy, I think. We even adopted a policy recently in terms of where we're going to put it because we don't want to cover the land with solar panels. So we have limitations with that. So we had to juggle some things, I think, and we have to keep managing our finances well. I think we've got some big projects now in the pipeline, or will be coming in the pipeline, sort of catching up on infrastructure, which I think is always a challenge and an opportunity because we have new technologies to make buildings better and more efficient, and more financial aid coming from the outside to help make that happen. So that's pretty exciting. I see that as an opportunity. There's another thought. Landfills. We had an interesting presentation on our landfills. We just happened to operate or previously operated some landfills or had contractors run them. And so we're sitting on these piles of garbage here and there that have methane emissions, and that's 96% of our greenhouse gas emissions are coming from landfills. And it's a very tough nut to crack. And we got a guy who was in our management team who decided he wanted to retire from management and just focus on landfills. And because he's a landfill geek. And so I look forward to hearing from him progress reports on how we can manage the landfills better in terms of safety and air pollution and what are best uses in the future for the landfills as we, like tomorrow night, if the stars are out, there'll be a astronomy event on top of the Green Valley landfill. It'll be freezing up there, but I hope to be there with some astronomers looking through telescopes and talking to the public and talking about the value of dark skies and what that means to people to nature. Yeah. And that'll be an experience. But I think the landfills, what we do with them over the next 10 years, I think that'll be a big discussion going forward, is how we can manage those lands better. And I think we have staff committed to do that. Yeah.
Right. When you said about the importance of dark skies, I can't tell you how much I love them. My older brother has a primitive cabin not far from Canadian border in northern Minnesota. And he took my mom and dad up a couple of weeks ago. A day after they returned, one of their cabin neighbors sent a night sky picture, all northern lights. They just
Mm.
missed it by one day. Um, question this question again for Jeff. Um, in my honest opinion, and I've said this in previous shows as well, in my personal opinion, we missed a train on the climate crisis. Yes, there is nothing impossible. There is still maybe a chance and whatnot, but I don't see any hope in terms of political systems around the world, the two-party duopoly in this country. I don't see us doing that radical work that would actually give us a slice of chance.
Mhm.
Jeff, uh, what is your honest opinion on this? Where are
Well,
we? Yes, we are far from where we should be,
mhm.
but what do you think? Did we
Well,
miss a train?
yeah, I'm a cautious optimist. Uh, Knock on wood and all that. But I think there's some. The good news is I think there's a lot of innovation going on that'll cut into it. So that, but I think one thing I've been hearing from the scientists is something better than what I used to. I used to be hearing, well, we got to do X, Y, and Z by a certain date, otherwise we're doomed.
Hmm.
Like there's a threshold after which the world burns, and I don't think it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be a matter of, well, the more we do now, the easier it'll be for us to deal with it later. It's
Much
an
cheaper
incremental
too.
thing in that regard. It's a more nuanced message that the science world and the policymakers are now starting to talk about. Like, well, we're going to have to thread a needle here because it's very difficult to change everything. But right now, I think people in the environmental committee are saying, let's electrify our homes, let's electrify our businesses, let's get off of natural gas. The natural gas industry, of course, is fighting us tooth and nail with misinformation.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, if your next air conditioner should be a heat pump. If not, you're wasting your money because heat pump technology is changed dramatically over the last few years, and so it works. I had a heat pump, and I was in Columbus, Ohio, but I still had a natural gas furnace for those extremely cold days. So I'm thinking we're going through a transition where things are going to be different. It's going to be more electric cars. We're going to have to find domestic sources of
Hmm.
raw materials instead of relying on a world market so much, to make things.
Right.
And it's going to be difficult. There's going to be some misfires. We're going to fall short. But if we do nothing, it will be very difficult to have a modern society at all.
Looking at the news all around the world makes me
Yeah.
very pessimistic. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
Turkey, Hawaii, Greece, Italy, New York, everywhere you look, it's getting more intense, more frequent, more powerful hurricanes, wild storms, wildfires, and we're doing everything to look away.
Can I
Um,
jump in since my
yes.
wife
pl-
texted me here?
Oh, sure.
um, I just want to say, and I was in Maui in late June, so and that one hit close to home. We had a tornado come through Woodridge, of course, a few years ago, where my house
Hmm.
is. One thing Jeff didn't even mention is the United States EPA came in and gave us a Green Energy Award because of our excellent work with our facilities, with our operations, with our vehicles. As Jeff and I mentioned, obviously we both have solar powered homes. And so I am also cautiously optimistic.
Hmm.
I'm definitely an optimist. Gokhan, I was the second ever elected Democrat countywide in Dupage, so I don't think I could have won without some optimism. Definitely an underdog story.
Hmm.
But talking more, globally and talking more at a larger scale, we want to inspire people. We're doing $1 million solar project at the NADA Forest Preserve next year to power a headquarters campus and charge cars. We're doing the budget for that right now, so I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition next year. But those types of things are done very thoughtfully, as Jeff said, to make sure that they're good financial moves and they're excellent. So the reality is this: America is well positioned when it's ready to actually be activated, to build more panels here, to build more wind here, to build more pumps, as Jeff said, so we can heat and cool our homes through geothermal and simpler, easier ways than those complexities that we've gotten used to, gotten spoiled by. But when we do get activated, I am really excited to see us go forward. And that's why one of the things you asked me earlier, are you running again? It doesn't mean I won't run for this. Maybe I'll run for something else. So all I can tell you is this: I am here to fight climate change, and you're right. That's a Republican issue. It's a Democratic issue. It's a Green Party issue. It's a Libertarian issue. It's a human issue.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're the ones that suffer.
At the end of the day, it's a human issue. And, when people are fed with the misinformation of wind turbines cause cancer, oh yeah, what do you say? What do you say?
Well, I say bullocks, and we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to keep doing good projects.
Right.
We're going to be responsible government, and then we're going to push others to do it in government. We're going to push county and municipal and state agencies throughout this country. And again, I think once we're ready to get activated, it can happen quicker than people think, because this country has been mobilized before historically. Yes. And when we get mobilized, things happen very quickly in the United States.
Right. That's why we keep fighting. And I'm sure you're very familiar, even though I can't know your deep personal views and whatnot, but your work is very much aligned with how I look at environment. And you'd be very good Green Party candidate, but look at the election laws in Illinois. If you are running for, don't quote me on the numbers, I run through a bunch of numbers in my head. If you're a Republican running for Congress, you need to get 700-800 signatures when you're petitioning. And if you're a Democrat, around the same number, 700 to 900. And if you're running for from a third party or independent, say, and not just Green Party, it could be Libertarian, it could be any other, it could be Socialist, Green, Libertarian, or Independent, anything. 13, 14 times more signatures you have to collect. How are we talking about democracy here? How are we talking about voters' choice? We're like, you're going to go either this way or that way, but what if I don't fit anything? We're coming up with a presidential election next year. My honest opinion on this, anybody, and it's very hard to get on the ballot for a presidential election because you have to petition every state. In my honest opinion, anyone with any political background has enough signatures to be on the ballot, should be on the stage on the debate. Whether that person has white supremacist ideas, socialist ideas, any idea, let the people choose. Let them. This is the United States. Let people hear what everybody wants to say. And then we should be able to, as adults, right, choose. China having one-party system, we complain about and we laugh at, and we have two-party system. I say to my wife, we are only one party better than them. All right, gentlemen, 55 minutes in. I don't want to keep you very long on a Friday night. I know both of you have very wild parties to go to. Thank you all so much for coming. Please, if you could share a few more sentences with me and our viewers about what you're doing and what you want to see in DuPage County. Jeff, go. Let's go with Jeff first.
Okay, I think I just want to continue what I've been doing. I want to see the Willowbrook Wildlife Center completed. We're working on some trail connections. I'm a fan of the East Branch Dupage River Trail, which is not our project, but it would go through some forest preserve property. And that would be a major way to get people outdoors on bicycles and walking. And just to connect things better, so it'd be easier for people who don't have a car, for instance, they could ride their bike or walk into a preserve. Just they get across a busy street and hook right in. We just finished a trail to Butterfield Road in Wheaton, so the whole neighborhood on that part of Wheaton could just walk across, and they're in the forest preserve. And see what else. I think we need to address the landfill emissions. We need to work on energy efficiency, and I think we could even be working a little harder on outreach, perhaps. I haven't really talked to people about this much, but I actually had a constituent through a second person say, "What's this guy doing? We're not getting enough people out on the trails and whatnot. The forest preserves look underutilized." And I think we're doing a lot of outreach, but I think it's hard not to. I think it's important that we just keep talking about the importance of the preserves and how people enjoy them, and just make sure everybody has the opportunity to get out there and as adults as well as children, just to breathe the air and listen to the birds and do all that stuff. I mean, that's just what I'd be focusing on. I think just spreading the message and helping people to enjoy the preserves any way they can.
Thank you so much. Dan.
Well, Jeff said it very well, but I will add on. We just keep connecting people to nature every day in every way possible. As I mentioned, we have thousands of kids coming out to get connected with nature. We have 1,000 volunteers annually. We're proud to keep pushing and doing more. And so if I'm the president, I'm going to tell you my goal is always to do more. And my ultimate goal as a human, as a father with young children, is to fight climate change. And I think everyone should be fighting climate change, whether you're a mayor, a councilman, on the library board, an elected official at state or federal level. You should be fighting climate change. So I can tell you, and I can guarantee it, we'll be doing solar projects, geothermal projects, and fighting climate change.
I really appreciate the sentiment in there. Climate change is everything. Honestly, looking at all this going on, like we talked a few minutes ago, the wildfires and storms, we're going to run out of money recovering from fire after fire, hurricane after hurricane. Yes, hurricane has been around for hundreds of years, not this often, not this powerful, not this damaging, devastating. And obviously, at some point, we're going to run out of money. We're going to run out of resources for sure. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all the information coming out on a Friday night. And I hope you enjoy your weekend. And we'll be in touch. Good luck to you both. And Jeff, I hope to have you on one more time before the election. And maybe you can give us an update before the election are here. So let's stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Gokhan. Appreciate it.